Hey, welcome. Welcome to my little ASMR show, where it's my job to help you find calm and relax. And here's a short preview of what you can expect in this video.
Yeah, traveling with us this evening.
Just wipe it, wipe it, wipe it, wipe it.
And for your weights.
1612 stands for 1412 now for you, Mr. Bilbin.
And yeah, I mean, the last ASMR show was already more than a month ago, which I'm sorry for. Yeah, this was a pretty bad last month, and I wanted to talk a bit about it. I didn't really prepare a perfect script or something, but it's just a lot of stuff on my mind, and a lot of stuff happened, and I wanted to kind of talk about what was on my mind and what I learned from it in a way. But obviously I'm also going to show you some intentional and unintentional ASMR and some stuff that I've enjoyed, so I'm really looking forward to spending some time with you today. I really hope that you're doing okay, because I mean, yeah, the last months probably haven't been easy for most of the world, and probably in many parts there have been personal tragedies. I guess I'm still in somewhat of a privileged position that I wasn't, my health is okay, and my family, as far as I know, is also still healthy, at least. I don't know if psychologically healthy, but the rest is okay. But still, obviously, it's really confusing and really scary to have the quarantines going on right now. It's kind of being more open, like they kind of open up the country again here, and it's, I think, even possible to go back to restaurants, but I don't even know if I feel like going, to be honest, at this point. And I guess what was most difficult for me definitely was that my relationship of more than 5 years ended a few days ago, actually, and it was really difficult. She actually lived in a different country, so we couldn't actually see each other for like more than 2 months, and you could already see that it was getting a bit more difficult. I don't even want to get too much into details, but it was definitely very sad. It was almost like a physical pain afterwards, and I'm still in the grieving process, I guess. And yeah, I'm just sad. I'm not angry or disappointed, I'm just sad. I think the good thing is that I was able to see the positive of it. Like, I don't see that the relationship failed, I just see that it ended, and I guess you could say it was successful in some way. And we just had a bit of a different vision about the future. But obviously, there's always, for me at least, the question about your own self-worth, and was it my fault, and could I have done something differently? And probably I could I have been a better boyfriend? Could I have been more, I don't know, happy? That's probably the main issue with me, that she told me that I was not enthusiastic enough, and sometimes just made this unhappy face. And I thought a lot about this, because it might be true, and this was actually the most depressing thing in a way. The idea that I gave some of that dark grey cloud to her, which I never intended to do. I really did my best to be the happy and bubbly boyfriend, but I couldn't always do it, so I guess some of that dark cloud probably passed over to her, and I'm really sorry for that. Yeah, and that was that. I'm still kind of processing everything, but yeah, I feel like I'm doing better already, and I feel like I learned a lot of things in this last month and these last years even, about myself, about this world, and I wanted to share this stuff with you because most of it is applicable to most people, I think. And I guess the first thing I learned, which I'm kind of doing right now, is to take on a curiosity mindset. What I mean by that is, instead of saying, why is this happening to me? This is terrible. This is a nightmare. Just being stuck into your problems and into your life. Kind of taking a different perspective, taking a bird's eye view and looking at your own life and saying, okay, interesting. Instead of saying, this sucks, I try to use the word interesting and look at my life from this lens and kind of, what can I learn from this? What can I learn from this relationship ending about myself? What can I learn from me feeling kind of unproductive and that nothing makes any sense? What can I learn from that? And this is what I'm trying to do even right now, and even right now making this video is helping me grieve, because I can take this pain and this trauma, I guess, and heal it almost by saying interesting and by looking at what I can learn. By the way, if you're wondering, I just cut my hair myself a bit, at least on the sides, and the funny thing is I just made a complete hole in the side of my head, like above my ears. Back in the day, my girlfriend tended to cut my hair, and no, she doesn't anymore, and that's obviously all these small things that remind you of the time you spent together is really difficult, and it can sometimes just pull you back into this dark place, obviously. I guess number 2 then is, after learning about myself, is more and more accepting myself, which is not something that comes natural to me, but I think I just have to become better at it. And I think these recent weeks helped me a lot in getting to know myself better, because it's not always easy to know what kind of person I am. You would think you know yourself because you're in your own skin, that you would know exactly how you function, but in a way you don't, because you're too close to it, and you almost, what you call it, you don't see the forest for all the trees or whatever. For me, the problem is oftentimes I don't see the trees for all the forest because I'm so difficult. So yeah, I learned a lot about my mind being very much in the abstract. So my default state is just that I think in the abstract. I think about what will happen in 5 months or 5 years. My mind is always trying to recognize patterns in everything, trying to make forecasts, trying to plan for the future, trying to find the optimal solution to a problem, probably because I want to avoid pain, because I want to avoid discomfort in some weak way. And I think I also had to use this as a coping mechanism, to be hyper-vigilant to threats, to abusive people. I looked a lot into psychology typologies. I did the Big 5 personality test. I think I was lowest 1% on enthusiasm, which was great. But other than that, I was very high in openness and moderately high in conscientiousness and stuff like this. I think I have to look it up again. But the lack of enthusiasm was definitely like kind of a hit in my stomach, because it was like, shit, that's like the worst trait to have, because the description basically read like depression. And I also looked into MBTI. I feel like if I read the accounts of other INFJ people, that they're so similar to me in how they plan for the future, even in their life outcomes, in the types of work that they can handle well, that I just don't believe that it's just nonsense. And I don't want to just put myself in this box and say, this is who I am, I can never change. At the same time, it feels great to not think that you're all alone in this. And I also learned about my own brain by reading a lot of books about it, about dopamine and these things, because I kind of noticed, unfortunately, that I have a kind of an addict's brain. I actually made a video about this on my channel, and maybe you watched this already, but learning about this was very beneficial and helped me a lot in basically being more forgiving with myself. I think that's the main difference, because reading about this stuff, everybody says, all the experts, that it's basically nature and nurture, and at least 50% of how you're feeling right now, your base level happiness, is your genes in some way. and people tend to underestimate the relevance of their genes. And I almost believe in a genetic determinism, which basically means that a lot of our outcomes are almost set in stone, or let's say what people call destiny, I think, is largely their genes. And their genes is a product of their parents and some randomness. It's not all of it, but it can be liberating to accept this, because then you don't believe that you can do everything and overcome everything just by sheer willpower. And I guess maybe my message to you is to also go on this quest of self-discovery without it becoming self-obsession and without you having to analyze every bit of your personality. That's not even possible. But I guess if you can afford it, even if you feel alright, maybe try therapy. Maybe do one of these tests like Big Five. And then finally, learn that it's not really your fault, and don't be so hard on yourself, because it's not our fault mainly. I mean, almost none of it. And it's almost like you could say, do we even have free will? I don't know, we probably have, and I like to have responsibility and accountability for my life. I don't like to be in that position of I can't do anything, but at the same time we have to accept the limitations of ourselves and what we can do. And I think especially now in this time of quarantine, we as a humanity, we were very impressively, we got the proof that we're not that powerful. And it's very humbling, I guess. It's very, very humbling. And accepting our own powerlessness in many aspects is valuable too. Yeah, don't be so hard on yourself. Don't make the mistake that I've made for the last many, many years. And I think it's important to take care of yourself like as if you would take care of a good friend. Take care of your body. Don't eat junk food all the time. I know it's difficult in these times, especially to not only eat like, I don't know, chips and ice cream. Work out, go into the sun, try to do something that's good for you. Yeah, and then there are these self-help gurus and entrepreneurs who say, now's the best time to start a business and you should start a side hustle and do all this crazy personal development stuff. And I mean, I like the positivity and the good attitude, but at the same time, it's kind of insane to expect that of yourself. And your goal is not to start a business now. Your goal is to survive and to make it. To not become depressed and jumping off a bridge. That's your main goal, okay? It's not to thrive in these circumstances. If you can, all the better, and maybe it's really easy for you to be at home for a long time, but for many it isn't that easy. So don't be so hard on yourself if you're not as productive as you would like to be, and if you're not as mindful and stoic as you would like to be, and if actually the quarantine was super hard for you because you have such a lack of intimacy, then it's okay to accept that and to don't expect yourself to be some kind of enlightened, perfect being who can get over everything. I mean, it's sometimes what apparently I do expect of myself, and it's just unrealistic, okay? Okay. Before going on with what I've learned, I thought I would show you some intentional ASMR that I've enjoyed in the past weeks. To lighten up the mood a bit, I thought I would show you some intentional ASMR that I really enjoyed, and I think ASMR is amazing in these times. And definitely some really cool ASMR being created, a lot of new channels that I've discovered. I'm not going to narrate all of them, I'm going to just show you my 10 favorites from these last 4 to 5 weeks approximately. And I'm going to credit them too. But if you want to see more of my ASMR picks, I write about my top ASMR picks in my newsletter that I sent out every Sunday. You can find it on findcalm.com/Sunday. So here you go, my favorite ASMR picks. I'm going to kind of choose both male and female voices and role plays and trigger videos to make it a bit more diverse and interesting and pleasurable for you. Okay.
Unfortunately, it affects the quality of your nighttime sleep. It's no surprise that you sleep worse at night after taking a 3-hour nap during the day.
Hello. Welcome aboard Dingle Airways. We're so happy to have you here, travelling with us this evening. And if you wish, we also have a pair of very comfortable, soft and breathable flight socks for you. Good. Again, just gently introducing my hands to your neck and shoulders. Just come a little bit closer to you.
You just want attention. Great. At least you're being honest. We have to be honest with one another just to make sure that we have just open communication. We have to make sure we have open communication. This deep action exfoliating scrub. It exfoliates the skin to clean deep down into the pores. sent me a letter. That you went with me on a ball. Attention, please. Does everybody know that this is good?
Let's talk again about what I've learned. I think number 3 would be to not isolate myself so much. And maybe this is only applicable to me, but I've been pretty thorough with my quarantine, I could just say. I'm pretty good at being alone. I don't necessarily suffer so much if I just live like a hermit, but I've done it to a pretty extreme extent, I would probably say. I probably haven't talked to somebody like a friend or relative face to face for 2.5 months, except for some people in the supermarket next door. I mean, I did talk to friends over the phone, sure, but aside from that, I was living pretty hardcore life in this sense, pretty very much quarantined, not because I'm super scared, just because I kind of isolated myself and I kind of overdid it. I recognize this now, because it's not that healthy. And also it kind of sucks for my parents, for instance, who kind of would like me to contact them more often. But it almost seems like I have some kind of reluctance to reach out to them. It's like I already know what they're going to tell me. I already know how the conversation is going to play out and how they might be disappointed in me. So I kind of have this battle inside of me, and having this battle makes me want to not have the phone call. And so sometimes I avoid it. And yeah, I've done it pretty extremely, so I wouldn't recommend it necessarily. I'm also here in a city where I don't really know many people. I'm kind of stuck here. I would have liked to go back to my girlfriend's, but I couldn't go over the frontier. It is what it is. And part of me also liked just being left alone and being able to work on my projects and just being creative and writing and making music and listening to music. But at the same time, I think there's a danger in distancing yourself too much from society as a whole and overemphasizing my otherness. And this otherness is basically, nobody gets me. I'm the only one who thinks like this. I'm too difficult. I'm too different to anybody else. I wrote about this too in my previous newsletter, but basically thinking I'm that different to normal people, which I probably am to some extent, in the sense of my anhedonia and me being not really being interested in what most people are interested in, and not really being into the whole consumerist thing as most people are. But at the same time, it's not really healthy to think you're all alone. It's almost like there's a demon inside of you who tries to convince you that you're all alone, and that's not a great feeling. Because if you feel like you're all alone, first of all, you kind of lose all hope. In a way, you kind of give up on life. You think, why would I even work hard to achieve material success if I don't really care about material success? Why would I keep in touch with my friends if if they never really get me? Why do I have to talk to my family if they can never accept me the way I am? Why should I try to find love if nobody can love me the way I am? Why should I just follow the rules of society if the society doesn't care about me? And it's obviously dangerous, as you can already guess, that you could also lose your empathy and your humanity, because if you don't see the humanity in others, if you dehumanize them, it's also easier to be hurtful to them. And this is basically what happens with racist people and with xenophobia and in wars, that you almost have to dehumanize other people for you to being able to hurt them. and it's not a good way. And I think that my mind is playing tricks on me when it tells me that I'm the weirdest person ever and nobody will ever get me. And yeah, learning about my personality type and reaching out to other INFJs, for instance, I know it's not the end-all be-all, but still it helped me. Also recognizing that while I might be rare in the sense of that I have the most abstract thinking mind and I'm, I don't know, in the top 1% of overthinkers, let's say, and I'm not gonna get like a trophy for that, luckily. People have other problems, right? It might be an abusive relationship, it might be just physical or mental illness, it might just be terrible stuff like living in a really poor country or being affected by the virus severely. People have it bad, and if I close my eyes to their problems, it's just an illusion, it's nonsense. And maybe the nature of our problems are different, but I guess in our essence they're still similar, and it's important to see the humanity and not isolate yourself too much and I guess detach yourself too much from humans, from society. And because otherwise you will maybe adopt some kind of twisted, dark, toxic thinking, kind of like the Joker in the last, the Joker movie, kind of like people did me wrong or something. The good thing is I never externalize my problems and my suffering, I always internalize it, so it's always my own fault, so I guess that's the positive side of it. Yeah, I think I almost have to force myself to engage more with society again. Maybe take at least one day out of the week where I don't even put on my computer and my smartphone, I just leave them at home and just go out in the nature, hang out with people, do whatever, do something real in the real world with my real body, because I feel like being stuck at home but also being in the internet too much and on forums can definitely strengthen the tendency of detachment from reality, which can be difficult and dangerous, of course. So that's it. And I guess finally, as a fourth learning, I would say finding hope. It's important to cultivate hope and positivity and to make the choice to look for hope, because otherwise it might elude you. It might be too hard to find the silver lining, the light at the end of the tunnel, especially in these times. So you can do this by practicing gratitude, and I do this by writing down things I'm grateful for and things I look forward to, and frankly sometimes it's difficult for me to come up with good points. But still it's important for us to have something where we can grow, what we can look forward to. This is also what Scott Adams says in his good book, that one key ingredient to happiness is to have an area, at least in your life, be it a career or just a hobby, where you see like an upward trend, where you see you do grow and you do get better, and this is immensely valuable. And I do think we have to ensure that we have these areas in our lives where we do grow, where we do see an upward trend, because it's really motivating. And I think eventually what will give us hope and meaning is finding something bigger than us, finding something that is includes helping other people. It could be also just taking care of an animal, of a pet. Starting a family is a great cause. Could also be volunteering, religion, spirituality, whatever it is, but something that is not just yourself. Don't make just your own self-improvement and well-being your purpose, because that coincidentally will make you feel depressed at some point, probably, because it almost feels like this is not what we humans are made for. Find something bigger than ourselves to almost subordinate our own primitive desires and profane desires to this more important cause, even if this cause is just something really small, like taking care of a garden or an animal or a family or whatever it is. So in my case, seeing that I can help people, that I do have an impact, was really beneficial. And you might know this already, but I wrote a little book. I thought nobody's going to read it. It takes way too long. And I was drawing this pixel art and I was rewriting it, and it took me 1.5 months or something. And I read many other books to be able to write this book, and I thought this is nonsense because I'm giving it away for free, right? But at the same time then I thought, why does everything have to make money? And then when I basically launched the book, so to say, yeah, now over 1,000 people read it or downloaded it, which is amazing to me. And a lot of people did reach out to me and said that I did help them with the book. By the way, if you haven't already, check it out at findcalm.com/book. I think you could find it interesting and valuable because it took me quite a while to write, and there's a lot of resources and also some implementation exercises for your life. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but it's almost like I had to learn about this stuff. It's called the 7 Habits of Calm and Happy People, and yeah, as the name says, it's basically about implementing systems in your life that make you more peaceful and more calm. I also explain why it's so important to be calm in all of this. But yeah, in any case, this gave me a lot of energy, and it gave me a lot to get this positive feedback from people and see I do have an impact. And if you struggle to find meaning, maybe see where you can find something where you can have an impact. It doesn't have to be helping others, it can also be being really good at your job, whatever. But having some kind of hope in your life, cultivating it, is important. And I know if you also have the predisposition to be cynical, having this dark humor, nothing makes sense, and kind of, I guess it's a kind of a byproduct of thinking so much into the future and being in the abstract. It can be tough to see the hope. I mean, even the word to me, it's cringy to me. It sounds like a Hollywood movie, but it's still important, and I do admire positive and uplifting people, and maybe I should make an effort to be more like this. Alright, I hope that wasn't too much rant, and if you learned anything else from your quarantine, I bet it wasn't easy for you either. I'd be happy to read your comments or read your messages. You can write me an email at any time at hi@findcalm.com. But in any case, I would like to talk about some unintentional ASMR that I've enjoyed. There's a lot of really cool unintentional ASMR that I've enjoyed. Also a lot of people who sent me some of their favorite unintentional ASMR picks, so I'm really grateful for that. It's amazing. And instead of narrating everything, I just want to give you my favorites, basically, of unintentional ASMR that I found most relaxing and enjoyable. And you can find all of them on my Best Unintentional ASMR channel and my second unintentional ASMR channel, which I'm also linking below in the description. And yeah, I always edit the videos and I improve the sounds and I cut them together. I make compilations, so it's just a hobby. I don't monetize it, so in any case, here are my favorite 10 unintentional ASMR videos from the last 5 weeks approximately.
Do something to this diskette, and your choices of what you might want to do are listed in hidden menus that operate a little bit like window shades. When you move your cursor, right, that are choices. We could find out something about this diskette, or we can just open it, or we could eject it. But if we open it, just say open, and immediately you get what we call a window that displays graphically and in words what is contained on the diskette in the machine. So you can see there's a picture of a hand painting, which symbolizes a paint program, and a handwriting for the word processor, and a couple of memos that were already written, some folders. If, say, you want to store a document or two in a folder, it's analogous to life. You just put the piece of paper in the folder. Be able to grab the keyboard and write a note to yourself. Remember to read page 12. And you could say, put this away, or you could move it over.
Made a tour around China and come back, told his wife, my grandma, and told my grandma that the Chinese society is going to collapse. The only way we're going to save ourselves is to have all our children have education. So my father, my father's father, my four aunts, all went to school. And they began to sell their land and to educate their children. This simple act enabled all of them.
And I'll give it the mighty stroke at the bottom. Push down a little more, you can get a bigger letter out of the same brush. And this all has to do with paleting. One brush can probably do 3 or 4 different letter sizes if you palette correctly. I'm also using what's known as a maul stick. It's an old sign painter's tool. Comes in very handy. I learned on the stick back when I first started. And what I like about it is it keeps your arm and your hand elevated from the work. The key to good script is a consistent lean on all your letters.
So I call topos in information, okay, or off information. And the work I will present, okay, comes in 2 papers. Okay. I mainly speak about this one, okay, with biologists, okay, from neuroscience, okay, and which is in Marseille now, Pierre Baudot. At every variable, okay, which start from X. Okay. So I have here, okay, a subcategory, okay, and in this subcategory, I always have product. Okay. All products are defined.
16, 12 stands for 14, 12 now for you, Mr. Bibin. Double down on 11 on one card, and it's the perfect one. Very, very lucky, Mr. Kovacic. 12 stands, and the shows of.
So too many 20 stand without the color pair. Go through kind of distance of it. So 11. Come on. So here, 12.
Your justice, please. Again, so far into December, this gentleman not seen your state 12th. Heard it. Begin movement, many all this painful to see. What about tonight? Thank you, sure.
I want to end this video up with some things I've enjoyed. I know a lot of this video has been somewhat heavy, and I have to force myself out of this heaviness from time to time and get myself to be positive. And there were definitely some things that brought me joy, and I'm really grateful for them. First of all, music. I mean, I wouldn't be alive without music. It's my life elixir in some way. And discovering new music, almost coming up with new music in my head. Second of all, podcasts. I think comedy podcasts were really a godsend in this time because all my favorite podcasts continued in this quarantine time, and it's not necessarily comedy in the sense that they talk about bits, which I don't even love so much. I don't love Netflix comedy specials, but just having genuinely funny people talk about whatever's on their mind is just amazing. And I think a few recommendations, if you're interested, are Tiger Belly with Bobby Lee. He's completely crazy. I think he's kind of similar to me. I see myself in him, and it's amazing how his girlfriend Kalila still puts up with him. And he also has a second podcast, Best Friends, which is amazing. It's with Andrew Santino, who is also one of my favorite comedians. They have a great chemistry, I think. Then I really like Two Bears, One Cave. I think Bert is an amazing character. It's on the Your Mom's House podcast channel. And then I like Joe Rogan, even though it's not really comedy. I like The Fighter and the Kid. People kind of hate on Brandon Shaw, but actually I find him to be, I don't know, kind of endearing, to be honest. I think he has some issues in articulating himself, and I do too sometimes. But I think he has a good heart, and he's interesting, and he's well read. He knows a lot about sports and about pop culture, and he's reasonably funny, so who cares? And Brian Callen is cool too. There's other ones like Comedy Hyenas and Theo Vaughn, and there's Bill Burr, and there's Chris D'Elia, which is more of a monologue type, but all of them are pretty cool. It's amazing to just maybe do something at the same time, clean the dishes or clean the house and listen to a podcast. I can really recommend it. Okay. Other than that, I really enjoyed playing Orcs Must Die 2 with a buddy. It's one of the coolest tower defense games, and it's just so much fun to play it. I don't know, we had a blast playing it. And other than that, yeah, I watched some Netflix, namely I started Community. I don't know, back in the day I really didn't want to watch it. I thought it looked kind of stupid and mainstreamish, but I kind of like the humor, to be honest. It's by, I think, Dan Arment, who is the co-creator of Rick and Morty, and it's definitely pretty crazy, and there's some interesting characters like the Childish Gambino guy, and there's a Joel something who's the main guy. Basically he plays in a community college, and it's not one of those typical college and blah 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 and high school jock. It's pretty funny and pretty well written, I think, and well conceived. At least the first 2 seasons where I'm at. And then secondly, I watched a really weird anime which is called Haiku or something. Basically, I was watching some volleyball on YouTube. It was recommended to me, and everybody was commenting like, "Oh, this is just like Haiku. This is just like the main character in Haiku." And I was like, "What are they talking about?" And then actually, they were talking about some anime about volleyball, about a school volleyball team, and this obviously to me also sounded really boring. But then I checked it out, and I don't know, the Japanese can make everything interesting. I mean, they're good at it, and it's just well done. It's kind of extended sometimes. It's like a Dragon Ball match or something, that the volleyball matches extend over like 3 episodes. But still, I like volleyball myself. I play beach volleyball too, not in a team, but just as a hobby. And it's just something cool to watch while you're having lunch or something. So whatever it is. So in any case, this was my ASMR show, I think number 8. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope this wasn't too much ranting, too heavy for you. In any case, thank you so much.